Welcome to the Remarkable Life podcast. I'm your host and coach, Caryn Gillen. And today we have the pleasure of I get to deliver and you get to hear a real live coaching session with someone I've never coached before. And I just want to thank you, Jen, for showing up and being willing to share this little piece of your life with us.
My pleasure. It'll be really fun, I think. Maybe some tears or something, but it'll be fun overall.
Yes, all good. Everything's welcome here. And will you tell people a little bit about what you do just so they know?
Yes, I'm the person who helps people who have an expertise in the world talk about that expertise without like making their audience glaze over or like fall asleep or like wrinkle their heads in confusion. Basically, I'm like a brand message and content strategist.
Beautiful. And we're actually recording this before Jen comes and interviews me for the birthday podcast that went live before we got here to do this episode, and you get to hear it.
We're in the future.
So you may remember Jen from the birthday interview. She's the one who came in and graciously used her beautiful projector questions to bring you whatever that ends up being. We don't know yet.
We don't. That'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Okay, so let's hear what would be helpful for you today for coaching.
Oh, I was thinking a lot about this in the shower today because I was like, oh, I have to get coached today. What am I going to get coached on? And I love being coached. I'm very coachable. And a lot of interesting things have been happening over the last 6 months in my business, which I kind of had to bring down to a very little trickle, just due to some stuff happening in my personal and family life. So over the fall of 2023, I spent a lot of time and energy and money working to figure out like what's next in my business.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a lot of clarity.
Mm.
And then I had made some other choices. Like I had to do this chemotherapy skin thing where that like pulls out your precancerous skin. So for almost an entire month, I didn't leave the house because I looked like, like I was wearing some horrible mask. And then in January, I had some eye surgery. So I didn't leave the house in January. And then I was all set to be like, February 1st is my new year, like my time to take all the clarity I've gotten and get going again. But then I got hit with this like horrible dental pain. And I wound up having emergency dental surgery, which I'm still recovering from.
Yeah.
So all around this, like I got all this clarity. I feel really excited about this big idea that I have. Then there's all of this like physical illness stuff, but then there's this other thing that's happening, which is, I know, keeping me from actually taking action, which is like, I'm so tired of the online business world. I look at my inbox and I'm like, I can't even respond to that. I feel very tired. So I know that I know what I want to do and where I want to go. And that, oh my God, that has been such a journey in itself. And now I'm like, why aren't I taking action? Why? I mean, I know I've had this physical stuff, but there's something else going on. And I thought maybe we could like talk about that.
On a personal level, I just love that you're willing to say it out loud because you're not alone. I'm hearing this behind closed doors from a lot of people, myself included. So I just want to throw that out there.
Thanks.
And I want to let it land. Like, I don't think we can have this session in a helpful way without letting it be true. You're tired. You're tired of the online business world.
Yeah.
And you get to have that. So what does it mean to be tired? Like, how does this present for you? And how do you know you're tired of it?
Well, I'm kind of just an action person, which I've been kind of recovering from. I get that. So the first thing that's like a red flag to me is when I'm ready to take action, or even when I have space to take action or energy to take action, like I'm not taking action. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Another thing is I'm seeing stuff in my inbox and I feel like resentful about what some people are doing or what they're saying. Here's this famous person who's decided to change her email strategy. Like literally her new email strategy is like the email strategy I've been using since I started an online business, but now she's doing it. So it's a thing. And I feel resentful about that. So what does it mean to feel tired of it? I think there's a part of me that's like, what does it even matter if you have this new vision and people need it? Like I've talked to people, I know they need what this is coming. But like, what if I do all this work again and it doesn't work again and I just get burned out again?
Yeah. So let's answer that question. What if that happens again? What's at risk here?
I have wanted to burn down my business so many times, and I know that I'm not alone with that. Um, and I never have. I've tweaked it and sharpened it and changed it, but um, it's a concern of mine that I will build up something again at the detriment of my health and wellness and my family, which I have done before. I have been guilty of that several times.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure how to be in a new paradigm with myself and just let it flow and do it like so that it's fun and enjoyable and so that it doesn't burn me out.
I mean, I think what's cool is you've told us really clearly what you don't want, and you've also told us really clearly what you do want. I want fun, enjoyment, and flow. I don't want burnout.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice to know where we don't want to go. But there, it sounds like even with knowing that, there's some sort of lack of trust with what could happen or how you might show up once things get rolling.
Yes, because that's an old habit of mine to once something gets traction or needs action or needs attention, I know I can do it. And so
Mhm.
then I just do it. And then I will get completely carried away. And I kind of have liked this last 18 months of my life where I've scaled so far back that it's almost like I'm running my business like a hobby at this point.
Mhm.
And that's fine. Like I'm not putting food on the table in my house. That's fine. But also, I've gotten to a place of pretty deep complacency, which is leading me to feel really bored.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I just, in my past, I would create busyness so that I don't stay bored or so that I feel purposeful or valuable. And I know that I've done a lot of work on rewiring all this stuff. So I'm so surprised that it's still here,
Mhm.
but I just I don't want to do anything right now. I feel really unmotivated.
Okay. I don't hear a lack of motivation. I hear a ton of thoughtfulness and for really good reasons. Because what I hear you saying is, I have this big idea. I'm an action taker. I know how to put my nose to the grindstone and get something done. And there's this other part of you saying, if we do that, we'll burn out.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So if we don't have the new way figured out, like how can I go forth and do this in the new way?
Mhm.
Why would we ever start if we know I'm not willing to deal with the outcome if I do this the old way?
That's exactly right.
Right. So it seems like you're, whether consciously or unconsciously, you're doing a really smart thing by holding back because you know you don't have your way figured out yet.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to give myself permission to keep holding back, which makes me wonder if that's why the dental thing showed up when it did. Because I was
Mm.
like, oh, February 1st is my date. I can get my act together on February 1st.
Your body
Everything will
was
be
like,
done.
no, it's not.
Oh no, it's not. Let me give you some nerve pain for a week.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, that could be. But I think like there's a lot of wisdom in your body,
Mhm.
whatever the dental pain was. And you really know what you don't want and what you're unwilling to do. Like there's a real unwillingness here.
That makes me feel like I can take an enormous breath because I think I've been walking around going, I don't really know what I want. I don't really know what I want. But like just in saying it to you, I clearly do.
Yeah. And I just got all the goosebumps, including on my kneecaps. And that when they're on the kneecap, it's like the most truest of true thing. So you do know, and you are wise, and you've been doing exactly what wants to happen. And it's been confusing because this hasn't been who you are.
Yes.
So it's one of those identity shift times.
Yeah, it's like when you've gone through your life and achieved success by doing and crossing off the list and taking action, and then like that's not working anymore.
Yeah. Again, waves and waves of goosebumps as you said that. Yeah. Okay. So check in with your body about what it needs. If it knows, like, does it just need to define the way? Does it need more time? Does it have anything to share with you?
it wants more rest, but my brain is really bored.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Rest. And so the way forward is you can do the big idea, but not without rest.
Mm-hmm.
What would that look like? What comes to mind?
Um, well, doing way, 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 way less. And I've done that. I've scaled so far back, honestly. I used to have a podcast that I would publish every week. And then I went to 2 times a month. And it was like I had wings on my back after I made that decision. It was so wonderful. Right. And
Yeah.
moving into only working with people one to one and not taking on a bunch of people, like really having a very small clientele, like a micro business, actually. And it it feels good to say micro business, but it's hard to say micro business when you're surrounded by all of these people who have so much energy and are just generating and generating and going and going. Um, and so I think there's something around owning that I want a micro business and that
Yeah.
there's no shame in that.
Can you define for all of us what that means to you, micro business? Because as
Yes.
soon as you said it, I was like, yeah.
um, it means I work a few hours a day,
Mhm.
and I only see clients 2 or 3 days a week. And it's a very client focused, focused business. So it's not like a
Not
group program.
scaling.
No, it's
Yeah.
not scaling. I don't care about scaling right now in this part of my life.
Right.
Um, Micro business means I have a few clients that I know deeply and well and can serve them and don't feel resentful about ever seeing them.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what that means. Yeah.
So you want to be able to be wide open and available without having to protect yourself from loving your people and serving them
Yes.
beautifully. But there has to be
Yes.
a cap on how you open the doors to how many of them there are and to who they are.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
So really, really, really clear castle walls
Mm.
and very, very, very abundant and lovely castle grounds.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah. It sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no reason I can't do it except for I know there's some deep garbage here that's like in the way of this.
Is it deep or is it just the soup you're in and the world that we see and the messages we get everywhere we go?
That's a really good
It's
question.
just right on top.
Yeah, like the fat, like I could just ladle it off.
Yeah. Skim the fat. And that's just like
Skim the
all the
fat.
comparison, other people's
Yeah.
launches.
Yes. Yes. All of it. And then I hold on to those things like, oh, maybe I'll care about that in 6 months, but like it'll be there if I want it in 6 months, right? Like I'm just thinking about all the people in my inbox. I could just unsubscribe. Like I could
From
just
everything.
not follow anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if every time you're getting those emails you referenced before, you're having these feelings of some bitterness or frustration or
Mm-hmm.
dread,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like, oh God, more work to do that I don't want to do for
Yes.
businesses that I don't want to have,
Right. Right. For models I don't
yeah,
want to use.
for a
Yeah,
person I
that's
don't want
it.
to be.
When you said it back to me, it was like, oh, micro business. That's so reasonable.
Yeah.
And I think it's unreasonable to want that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the beauty of a micro business.
Okay.
Why micro? I mean, you've told us a lot, but like what else? Get really fine tuned on it.
Um, so I'm 53, going to be 54, and I'm in that time of life where I have one child who is about to fly the coop next year. And so it's not like he needs me all the time, but it's
Mhm.
that like invisible needing in a different weird way that I wasn't expecting of a teenager.
Yeah.
Um, and my husband has a job that requires him to travel a lot and just not be home a lot. And so I I am available a lot. And that's not who I ever thought I would be, but that's where I am right now in my life. Um I want more free time. I want more hobbies. I want more fun, but I don't know how to do that because I've always just worked to myself into burnout.
Yeah.
So now it's like, you say you want this thing, Jen. You say you want to work a few hours a day. You say you want to get fit and healthy and well, but like I'm not doing any of it. I'm just um I'm bored. I keep saying that, but it's like, what would I do with all this free time? I think is the big question underneath here.
Mhm. So
Is
what
this
would you
all making sense or am I just wandering around?
No, it makes a ton of sense. And I'm betting it's resonating with a lot of people. It's resonating with me. Like I was walking up my steps about 10 minutes ago. Well, longer than that now, because we've been here a while. And I had the thought, like, I just want to work like 4 hours a day. And honestly, that's kind of what I do.
Mhm,
And I wouldn't call my business a micro business, but I bet I could have one if I just shifted a few things.
mhm.
Yeah. So,
But I'm not really only working 4 hours a day because all the free time is taken up with thinking about the business, not really even doing anything, but thinking about or shoulding on myself or
yeah.
comparing myself. Like, so it kind of takes up all this time, but I would just love for it to be, step in, step out, step in, step out.
Yep. Okay. So I think this is a really good moment to make really clear fences.
Mhm.
My business does this, my business does not do that.
Mm,
I see clients like this, I do not see clients like that. I show
mhm.
up in this way for my business and not like that. Like, because there's probably a ton of clutter clearing to do, email list, courses I'm committed to never taking. Um,
The
yeah,
graveyard of courses on my computer.
getting rid of journals that have all the
Mm.
tabs that say I'm supposed to do this someday. Like there's a clearing and then a clarifying.
That that just yes.
Yeah.
That would be
Because
like the ultimate declutter.
yeah, yeah. Right. And you love
I
decluttering,
do
right?
love decluttering.
Yeah. So this is like the internal, when you get the perfect drawer organizers that you've been wanting and like they just everything fits in perfectly.
Mhm.
You're going to do that, but for the internal landscape of how you
Mm,
think and feel and show up for your business.
mhm. I love that.
And you already have these skills. You know what it's like to look at something and go, that's not like that doesn't make what did you say earlier? It was the best. This is like the barrier for you or the powerful question. Does that make me have wings on my back?
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, I
If it
love that,
doesn't,
yeah.
if it doesn't put wings on your back or that feeling of when you cut your podcast
Mhm.
back, that's the guiding force, I think, for building the micro business.
Mm. I love that we're, like, intentionally calling it a micro business, and I'm building my micro business, like, that feels so freaking empowering to me.
Yeah. Right. Because what's been missing is that conscious choice and intention about it.
Yes.
You just had the doors wide open and all the random shit's been flying in. And you've been thinking like just because it flew in, it means something or has some power or
Yeah.
needs to be handled. But you just get to close the doors.
Yeah. And it's like, I've let it all in and I'm like, I'll sort through it. I'm a good sorter. I can do that. My brain works like that, but it's just so much more energetically draining.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what's the point of sorting a bunch of stuff you're not going to keep?
It's so true. I was
Just
having
put
this
it all in
conversation
the
with
Goodwill
somebody.
bag.
I was literally having this conversation with somebody yesterday who's moving and wants to declutter her house. And I was like, you can't move with all of this clutter. No, you have to get rid of it first.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that. That's helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm curious how long you think it's going to take you because you love decluttering to actually have this really figured out. What stays, what goes, what I'm open to, what I'm closed for. Like, how long do you need in order to do that? What do you think it looks like?
If I'm if I'm being really honest, I actually have done a lot of it already.
Okay.
Like made these decisions already. Get off Instagram, put a
Hmm.
9 grid up, right?
Hmm.
Um I like scaling the podcast back was another example. Only putting a certain number of open spots on my calendar each month for people who want to do drop-ins with me
Hmm.
versus my long-term clients. Um, it really would not take very long because I think I've been thinking about this, but I have not taken action on it. It's almost like I needed permission to say no, 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 yes.
Yeah. No, 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 no. Yes. So you need to be four no's to everyone. Yes.
It's really micro. I love it.
Yeah. So really, like, do you already have the micro business?
Uh-huh.
It's just giving yourself permission to have it and not entertain the other styles.
Not entertain it and also not feel ashamed of it, not feel bad about it. There's a couple of things that'll happen for me. One is that I will feel, oh, aren't you so privileged to be able to have a micro business where you don't have to be dancing and churning and hustling all the time?
Mhm.
And I am privileged for that. And I'm very aware of that. But I walk around with a lot of, invisible garbage about that
Yeah.
piece. So in my
Okay.
head, if I'm like, well, I'll grow it, I'll get better on all, like that's something that I energetically hold on to.
Mhm.
And then there's the other piece of literally being in the room with, whether it's an online room or real, like people who just are making millions and having huge launches and like they're doing all of this stuff. And I look at it and I'm like, woof, I couldn't.
Yeah.
But also, shouldn't I be? Like, get your shit together, Jen. Like, shouldn't you be? Like, no, you can't, but shouldn't you? No, you can't, but shouldn't you? It's
Yeah.
like God, it's like a table tennis game.
Yeah. Do you think it's true that what we don't want isn't for us?
I never thought about that before. And that it has to be okay that it's not for us, I think is the big thing for me.
No matter what the world would say.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be like a pride growth
Mhm.
period, right? So this is like, I would say the idea of a micro business right now is like the newborn baby, and you have to
Mm.
take really good care of it. And you don't just hand it to anyone, right? You protect it
Right.
and you think a lot about like how to care for it and its development and its safety and what fuels it and if it's cozy, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it seems like, go ahead.
I all of it is resonating, except there's this piece that's just sitting in my gut that's like, who are you to have a micro business when everyone out there is working really freaking hard? And who are you to have so much privilege and not have to work that hard? That
Yeah.
is old stuff.
Yeah. Right. So who are you to
Yeah.
have all this privilege and not have to work so hard? Do you know?
I know where it comes from for sure.
Yeah. And you and I, we both have earned and unearned privilege.
Hmm.
Couple of
Hmm.
white ladies hanging out.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we do with that and how we show up for it, like, do you know what your top values are?
Um, you mean like the Clifton Strengths Finder?
Those work too. Or
They're
what you value, like,
always oh, I value security,
mm-hmm,
service, harmony.
mm-hmm. Okay. So, I love this. So security, you have that. You value it and you've created it in your life. In whatever way you've created it, you have that.
Right.
Service, what I hear you saying is I want to do like a beautiful level of service for the right people for me to serve,
Hmm.
the right level. And harmony is the piece that this is calling you forth into, to have harmony between what I want to do for fun, the kind of business I want to have, and the kind of life that I get to have because some of it I've earned and some of it I haven't. And I just
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, that's true. When you were saying that, this thing came to me like it was just this thought of how could you even try to have fun right now when your business is taking up all of your space in your mind?
Right.
Like so anytime I go out in the world to try to enjoy myself, it's always like
Back to work.
back to work.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not really doing anything, it's just like this stupid busy stuff.
Yeah. You know, what I do in times like these is I narrate it out loud so that my brain hears what I'm doing. Like,
Okay.
okay, I'm shutting down my business for the day. And whatever time it is, 2, 5, 10 a.m. And the rest of the day I'm not working. And I say it out loud so that
I
my brain
love
gets
that.
on board. And so that I remember I have permission. And sometimes I'll use timers like I'm going to take the next 2 hours and just like rest and read and do whatever I want. So I set my timer so that if that urge to like, I better go do something comes up, I'm like, nope, not until my timer goes off. I'm totally in this. I'm in whatever I'm doing right now. I'm not getting pulled out.
It's like permission time.
Yeah. And you
I
have to
love
give
that.
it to yourself because
Yeah.
nobody else does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how clear I feel and how calm I feel in a way that I did not feel before the call.
You look clearer too, which is
Hmm.
weird. Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what to do. You've done a lot of it already. And
Hmm.
now it's just living it out loud,
Hmm.
not waiting
Yes.
to have a
Owning it.
different model. It's the micro businesses here today. And how does that look? And do I like it? And if it doesn't feel like it puts wings on my back, then I'm probably doing it wrong and I can figure out a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really about just owning it. It's go for I'm using the word permission a lot today. I
Yep.
can hear it.
Yeah.
And it's about giving myself permission for all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would look at for you because you have some of that guilt about the privilege that you have
Mhm.
is to think through your values of service and harmony. And I can't read my writing on the first
Mm.
one. Um,
Security, harmony,
security.
service. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you value those things, is there anything that you can do in your local community to amplify those things for other people?
Yes. And you know what's funny is a friend reached out to me looking for a yoga teacher for her teacher friends. And I'm like, oh, I am certified to teach yoga, but I haven't done it in years. And I was like, oh, but I don't have the time. I don't have the capacity. But like, I literally do have the time and capacity.
Does it feel like it would put wings on your back to do
Yeah,
it?
it would feel like something that would be good for me. And also, I also realize I'm craving community outside of women who own businesses, like just normal human beings who
Yeah.
are like, not normal, but like
Yeah.
typical people, like not business owners. And that would be, a group of people who don't want to talk about business all the time.
Yeah. And if they're teachers, they could definitely use that service from you.
The yoga.
Mhm.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
This has been so helpful. I don't think I realized how much the shoulds have been weighing on me, those invisible shoulds.
Hmm. Yeah. Because the problem with the invisible shoulds is they seem like the truth.
Yeah.
Because if you look around, they're running most people. And so it looks like that's the way it's supposed to be done. But
Yeah.
really, you want to be intentional and do things differently. So you can't decide about your own life based on anyone else's.
Mhm. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is
Thanks
so
for
great.
sharing.
Oh,
This was
my
great.
pleasure. This is amazing. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. That episode coaching with Jen Liddy, whose social we'll put in the show notes, was actually like a coaching for myself at the same time with the questions that I asked, with the permissions that she was feeling. I'm uh I'm so glad that you got to hear that because it is so loud out there to scale to seven figures, to, all that. Frankly, I am going to call it BS. It's really what some people want, and that's fine. It's not the whole point of everything. If you look at the stats, I think it's 12% of woman owned businesses get to six figures. The majority of businesses, I believe, hang out near the $51,000 a year mark. And is it less than 2% of women owned businesses get to the $1 million mark? And I think it's just good to know the numbers, right? And I know that my business can't survive at 51,000 a year because that's not enough as the primary breadwinner for my family. But some people's can, and that's okay. For some people, bringing in that amount of money along with their partner's income and with the life that they have is game changing. And that makes it a beautiful business, a sustainable business. We don't get to say what works for others is the right thing or what works for us should be anyone else's agenda. We only get to look at our lives and what works for us and what we need and be honest with ourselves about who we're here to be and how that looks. I've never been here to be a boss babe. Can you imagine me trying? It would not work out, right? It would be so awkward and so clunky because it's not who I am. I'm not here to rah-rah anybody. I'm here to coach anyone who will let me. And to do it in a really powerful way, in a way that works for me. And only I get to decide that. Just like Jen is the only person who can decide what does a micro business mean for her and what will she make non-negotiable about that. And who is she going to listen to as she doesn't grow it, as she just runs it, as she shows up in exactly the way she wants to, adding nothing to her plate that doesn't make sense or give her wings. We should all be so lucky to have that clear, and I believe we all have it, have that clear felt sense of this is right for me. This is alignment. That sense of being expansive in whatever's happening, whether it makes sense to anybody else or not. So if this podcast does anything for you today, the homework I would give you is take the invitation. Take the invitation to lean back, unsubscribe, stop listening, clear the decks, and land in what you want to have happen for who you are, for what you're trying to create, and cut out anything that doesn't line up with that for you. Give yourself permission. Nobody else will. All right. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you listening. And I really appreciate you, Jen, for bringing that here. I think it was a gift to all of us. All right. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast, subscribe so you keep getting these coaching episodes in your earballs, as I affectionately like to call them. Okay. Have a great day. Bye.